With a 50% obesity rate in the U.S. and more unhealthy people than ever before, it is time to make America healthy. Welcome to Make America Healthy with Beth Shaw. If you're feeling tired, toxic, heavy, slow, or stressed, then keep listening. Beth and her expert guests are here to offer practical advice and share the tools you need to reclaim your physical, mental, and emotional health. Now, here is your host, Beth Shaw.
We'd like to thank our title sponsor, YogaFit Training Systems Worldwide. YogaFit has been offering quality education for physical and mental health for over 27 years. Operating as a school worldwide, YogaFit has teacher trainings, consumer-friendly programs, over 250 different programs to choose from, whether it's yoga for heart health, yoga for obesity, all different types of mind-body activities, Pilates, Tai Chi, and so much more. Corporate wellness, yoga for healthcare, yoga as therapy, and you can visit one of their conferences, you can take a training online, you can take a ongoing support training, so you can save 15% at checkout by using the code MAH24 at yogafit.com. Your body will thank you.
Welcome to Make America Healthy, where our goal is to educate you, inspire you, and inform you so that you can make better choices for your physical and mental health. I'm Beth Shaw. I'm the founder of YogaFit Training Systems Worldwide, the largest yoga mind body school, operating for over 26 years as a school. I've also written 4 books on health and wellness, and I am the host of Make America Healthy podcast. So today's topic is senior health. And whether you're dealing with aged parents or you're getting older yourself, it's a topic we're all going to need to deal with at some time. So we're going to give you some very useful tools that will help you or your senior parents sail gracefully into what should be the golden years. We're joined today by Stan Goldberg and Cynthia Benjamin, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves. Ladies first, Cynthia, would you like to start?
Sure. Thank you, Beth. Hi, I'm Cynthia Benjamin. I'm the co-founder of Together Senior Health and the Chief Strategy and Innovation Officer there. We started Together Senior Health along with my other co-founder, Dr. Deborah Barnes, who is a professor and epidemiologist at the University of California, San Francisco, and has had a joint appointment at the Veterans Administration. And that is both of those are the source of the programming that we offer. So Together Senior Health, we focus on brain health for older adults. Specifically, we bring evidence-based strategies and activities to folks online and bring people together to combine movement, mindfulness, social activity, music, things that we know can be very joyful and have deep meaning to people in many ways. And we have found that when you combine those things in very purposeful ways, not only can it be beneficial for your physical health, but for your mental health as well. Dr. Barnes found that those things can help delay cognitive decline for folks with dementia, Alzheimer's, or mild cognitive impairment. So we have focused on doing clinical trials on bringing those evidence-based strategies out to folks in service of keeping our brains healthy, whether you have cognitive decline or you're experiencing some initial signs of age-related memory loss, or if you're just worried about keeping your brain healthy, we have some strategies to help you address those.
Wonderful. We want to know all of those strategies. If you don't need them today, you might need them tomorrow. Your parents might need them. Someone's going to need them in your life for sure. We were talking before the show, most people don't recognize that they have cognitive decline, and it just continues to decline. It's like anything else in the aging process, I'd imagine. But, the physical body is a lot easier to see and feel. And when we're living in our bodies or in our minds, I think it's very challenging. So we're going to really dive into that topic. Stan Goldberg, hi, tell us about yourself.
I was a professor in the Communications Disorders Department at San Francisco State for 25 years. During that time, I focused on getting behavioral changes in patients with a variety of disorders, ranging from children with severe language problems into stuttering, aphasia, and various other communication disorders. What I learned as I was going through the process of helping my patients and training my students was that there's a certain universality with change. If trying to get young children to change a behavior that's undesirable had many of the same characteristics as someone who was, as let's say, aphasic and had difficulty retrieving words. As I went through this sort of learning process, what I came to realize was that many of the behaviors that I was calling senior moments were really deceptive. They told us very little about the behavior. There was no prognostic indications to the use of that phrase. And we probably were leaving an incredible amount of diagnostic information on the table when someone had a senior moment and we laughed at it. At that point, I started looking at what, in fact, are senior moments. Is there a different way of thinking about them? The result was my latest book, which is Preventing Senior Moments, How to Stay Alert into Your 90s and Beyond. And there's strategies that I'd be delighted to share with you today.
We'd love for you to define senior, really get into this senior moment at some point. First, I'd like to ask, and I'll open this up to both of you, what are some general challenges that we're having right now in the US as we're looking at a large population of baby boomers that are getting much older, my mother included with that, and Gen X, which getting up there, and what's happening? Are there new medical cures? Are there things that are going to help? Tell us about cognitive enhancers. We want to know everything.
Cynthia?
Go ahead, Stan, why don't you start?
Okay, what I've found is that there's a misconception about what happens with the aging brain. The first problem is that when people talk about memory, they don't really understand there's various types of memory. If we look at that, we can have a better idea of what's going on. The second is in the analogy I like to use with gears. If you think about any complicated machine or system, they have a series of intertwining gears. And as long as the teeth in those gears mesh perfectly, there's no problem. If it's slightly off, what we find is there's a clunking and what appears to be what we might call a cognitive problem, which I don't think is. It's just a matter of adjusting the speed at which we try to do things with what the brain is capable of doing.
Okay, thank you for that. Of people who are listening to this show, I'm going to give a couple of different problems. Challenge, you have a parent that's aging. They're starting to get forgetful. You're concerned maybe it's Alzheimer's, maybe it's dementia. They may not be that open to taking various supplements for memory, for cognitive function, even changing their diet. What is in our control and what is not?
I can jump in on that one. So there are actually a lot of things that are in our control. We're learning more and more through research about the various risk factors that are associated with cognitive decline that they're referred to in the literature as modifiable risk factors. They're things that we can change, things that we have some control over. Things like physical activity, things like cognitive activity, staying engaged with curious and continuing to learn. There are also things about managing other health conditions like hypertension or diabetes. So if you have these other conditions, better management of them is going to affect your brain health. Other things that we might not normally think about, but sensory loss, vision impairment, or hearing impairment, those things have been associated now with cognitive decline as well. And it's not necessarily, part of it is that you might have those things, but part of it is the management of them. If you are having trouble with your hearing, if you're having trouble with your vision, and you're not addressing those things, you're more likely to withdraw. And your brain is now working harder to manage those things and might be preoccupied. Managing these various risk factors can help you to stay at as sharp as possible, help you to stay engaged. And social engagement interestingly, is now deeply correlated with your brain health. The more social connection you have, the less lonely you are likely to be, the more likely you are to stave off things like cognitive decline or dementia. So when we put some of our programs together, we put a lot of emphasis on helping people to identify these modifiable risk factors that they can control, that you can work on. Luckily, a lot of these overlap with things that we might already be doing. We might already wear glasses, right? We might already have a hearing aid. We might already be working out at the gym. To realize that these things are also healthy for our brain might give us a little bit extra motivator to go to that gym that day, or might give you an extra motivator to get your prescription checked. So there are actually quite a lot of things that we can do that science tells us are related to our brain health and maintaining our cognitive health.
That brings up an interesting point. Anxiety, depression in particular, is running rampant today in our society. It's through all age groups. I have people 18 to 21 years old are committing suicide in record number. I've had actually several friends whose children have taken their own lives, and it's really tragic. So we've got an epidemic of depression. We all know that when people are depressed, they're less inclined to go to the eye doctor, get their hearing checked, take their supplements, go to the gym. So it feeds on itself. And we've had guests on the show like Dr. Barry Sears, who really advocates for the use of fish oils and talks about dementia and Alzheimer's really just being diabetes of the brain, inflammation levels and all of that. And then we also have a medical system that's not really trained in any type of natural health, or perhaps doctors who they're not trained in nutrition, are not trained in cognitive health, and might not know what to do with people or how to spot issues that are going on, or even alert the patients to the fact that they do have something going on. Obviously a lot of challenges. I'm going to ask you, at what age do people start to first show signs of decline?
I don't think there is any starting point for that. I think a lot of that has to do with some of the things you mentioned, also some of the strategies that Cynthia mentioned. I've worked with people whose idea of exercise was getting up off the couch and taking the garbage out once a week. At the same time, there was another person who was this exact same age, who ran 3 times a week, who ate well, and who focused on what was positive in life. The cognitive functioning of each was very different. You can imagine who performed better. But the thing that I found interesting is there was a research study done, and I wish I had it off the top of my fingers, but I don't. It looked at what happens with people who focus on negativity. And what they found is, because of the various neural connections in the brain, that if you focus on something that's negative, it's a very good possibility that you're going to recall other negative things, and they will form sort of a domino chain. I think that a lot of what we misidentify as dementia is not necessarily based on any neurological differences, but rather on our inability to stimulate possibly the synaptic connections that are necessary to have a more positive outlook.
Yeah, I know things like dancing and exercise obviously help one stay in an upward spiral, as well as how one manages their own thought process. So if we're looking to educate people, which I know you're both largely in the education business, about how to keep a young and healthy brain. I'm a huge fan, obviously, of yoga and meditation as a way to stave off the aging process in every way and keep a body that's strong and flexible, keep mind-body connection, which will make you not only aware of something going on in your physical body, but I believe also becoming the witness to the mind, the thoughts, the emotions, is a great way to maintain your cognitive health, or even start to notice when you're having a senior moment.
Let me just go back to a research article that I read that I think is incredibly poignant. This was done in 2013 by a team of Goodman and Miller. And what they were actually doing was trying to identify the role of creativity. And it was meant for educators in the elementary school. And I thought, okay, what do we need to teach kids to be creative? And they essentially came up with 6 skills that were required. And as I looked at those skills, I went back to some of the research done maybe 10 years ago on what stimulates new neurons and synaptic connections with people with Alzheimer's. There were 6 very simple ones. One was that you have to be able to provide multiple answers to available information, constant analysis of what's being created. You need to redraft, start over again, engage in complex and creative problem solving, combine convergent and divergent thinking, and finally ask what-if questions. As I looked at that, I realized these are the exact same things that are involved in any kind of cognitive activity, in playing chess, bridge, inventing a new recipe. It didn't make a difference. They were all identical. And what I've found, looking at my patients, is that those who are engaging in either creative activities or cognitive bending activities tend to be more alert, to have much better memories than those who don't. So I think there are things there that we just need to look at before we make recommendations.
I'd like to jump into neural pathways and the creation of new neural pathways. We've had a lot of guests on this show from the psychedelic medicine space who profess that things like psilocybin and LSD create new neural pathways. I've had musicians on the show, Music is Healing, who claim that listening to music helps us create new neural pathways. We've had people from the world of ketamine say that ketamine creates new neural pathways. I know that neither one of you are scientists, but I just would like to hear some success stories about people that you've seen using whatever type of tool that they choose to use or was imparted on them. What positive things have you seen?
So we see this actually quite all the time with folks doing our program and others. We have had, for example, we're associated with a study out of UCSF and the VA that actually is doing MRI studies to see the physical impact of programs like ours. And we're finding that it's the combination of things that is actually very effective at building these new pathways that you can actually see when you do the MRI studies. We believe that it is a combination of both kind of repetition, which we know from studies of children, that's how children develop, and it's repetition that helps strengthen and build new pathways, and the unused pathways fall away in developing brains. And that's very true in older brains as well. So repetition with some variation around them. There's no magic bullet that says do this and you get new brain connections, right? But repeating things that are positive, repeating things that are challenging your brain in some slight way. You don't want to over challenge your brain because you might just give up. Things like learning a new skill or trying something new, even meeting some new people or picking up a new hobby or trying a new language, things like that challenge our brain in new ways. And then physical activities can also challenge our brain in new ways, learning new patterns in our physical health, learning new ways of moving throughout the world or stretching or flexibility, trying new skills.
Dance classes, pickleball.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Dance classes, yoga is a really clear winner. Tai Chi has evidence of cognitive supports as well. The brain is not just this isolated thing inside our heads. It is connected to your whole body. Yeah. It is connected to your mood. It is connected to your mental health. It is actually the core of all of those things. All of those things can help to stimulate new growth in your brain and your cognitive health.
So are there campaigns that are being launched nationwide to alert people who are getting older? Again, we've got a population of baby boomers that's getting up there. Are there like public service announcements? How do people find out unless they're doing the research themselves? And then you mentioned online community, Cynthia, which I think is interesting because we have found even with our network at YogaFit, some of the truly older folks have a little bit of challenge with the whole online thing. How are you engaging older adults in the online community? And then also, what messaging is being put out on a national level to make people aware, hey, take care of your cognitive health?
There's really not much out there on a national level. Until recently, there hasn't been a whole lot of positive news or positive research about this area. And part of it is because it's really scary, right? Alzheimer's is the number one most feared condition related to aging. People are more afraid of Alzheimer's than they are of cancer, of diabetes.
And the thing with Alzheimer's is once you start to go down that slope, and I know I probably wouldn't want to stay on the planet anymore if my brain is not functioning properly, but past a certain point, then you really don't have much control of anything in your life, do you? Some people have said that it's a far greater fate, perhaps, than having physical challenges, limitations, paralysis, stroke. Tell me your thoughts on that.
Well, let me push back on that just a little bit.
Okay.
Certainly, none of us wants to lose our independence.
Yes.
Right. And that's, I think, a big part of the core of the fear here. Nobody wants to lose their independence. But even with the folks that have experienced pretty severe decline, there are still ways you can experience joy. There are still ways to learn that we use in our programming. So we know from neuroscience that you can still learn through mindfulness activities, mindful body awareness. You can still learn ways of being in the present moment and enjoying the world around you. You can still make human connection, even if you don't remember the name of the person that you're talking to.
Right. Because it's all about energy at the end of the day anyway, right?
Not to minimize the fear or the actual decline that people do experience, because it can be very frightening.
And is it on the rise, Cynthia? Is dementia, Alzheimer's? I know we have a huge diabetes epidemic in this country, and they say within the next 10 years, I think that 2/3 of the population will have diabetes. Is Alzheimer's and dementia on the rise? Is it just being diagnosed more these days than it was before?
No, it actually is on the rise, both in numbers and in prevalence. As we get older, the number one risk factor associated with dementia is age. As more of us age and live longer, we're more likely to face cognitive decline. But
right. And a recent study came out that we're actually not living longer anymore. I think our lifespan has shortened 3 years in the past 3.5 years.
The COVID pandemic has really hit us in lots of ways. Really.
Yeah, we're not even going to touch this because I have far too much to say on this.
Yeah, let's leave COVID
out
of it.
We're going to leave that out of it. Yeah. I know that cancer since COVID and all the responses to COVID, let's say that, I know that cancer has gone up 800%. Recently, my own mother, who's in her late 80s, had a series of strokes. At a certain point, too, one hopes that the brain bounces back, but I don't know how easy that is. And then you also have an older generation of people who are not open to holistic treatments, alternative treatments, Ayurveda, Chinese medicine. I'm curious if either one of you know how Alzheimer's dementia has been treated in other countries, especially India, China, Japan. And is it as prevalent? The Japanese diet is very clean. I've watched a lot of things on the Blue Zone, and everybody seems to be pretty cognitive healthy there, as well as physically healthy and growing potatoes and hanging out with their friends. And it looks like I would want to move to Okinawa tomorrow if I was of a certain age. How do we fare compared to other countries in the world? Where are the statistics? And if any of our listeners are researchers like myself, where do we go to find this information?
I don't know about the demographics of Alzheimer's in the Far Eastern countries. However, what I have found, I did a lecture tour on an unrelated subject in Taiwan. And what I found out was that the way that most people, almost in every country that I've been to, views Alzheimer's is no different than what we do here. And that is, I think there's a misunderstanding of what is going on with someone that has Alzheimer's or other forms of dementia. Most people just look at basically as a memory problem. And in fact, I have a friend of mine who has early onset Alzheimer's in Great Britain. And he told me the most frightening thing in his life was when he was crossing the street and he did not know how to get on the curb. actually put his foot on top of the curve, which essentially to me, and we talked about it, essentially meant that there were certain types of things that were leaving his memory. And one was structure. By helping someone with any form of dementia to externalize structure, you're providing them with a more, not necessarily a better pathway, but a more pleasant pathway on the point where nothing will help. There are strategies that can be used regardless of the country, almost regardless of the severity of the aphasia, of the Alzheimer's, that can help. Whether or not there are fewer people with dementia in Japan or China and other areas, I have not seen any statistics.
Yeah, I believe the prevalence is very similar from country to country, but it depends more on general level of health, how people are aging in general. And there are a lot of cultural differences about how people treat their older adults.
They don't throw them into old age homes and Alzheimer's centers in other countries, especially in Asia. I know I spent a lot of time there. The family unit stays the family unit.
Which it certainly has pros and cons, right? It's if you're experiencing cognitive decline and you are welcome in your family and people are there to care for you, that is amazing and awesome and going to keep you healthy in so many ways. But also, some cultures are less likely to recognize the distinction between kind of regular age-related memory loss, which is normal, and cognitive decline or dementia, where it might benefit from some additional attention. Some cultures just are less likely to name it or recognize it as something that could potentially be managed differently.
In other cultures, people who have schizophrenia are also known sometimes as the shamans in the town. So it's all how you frame it and how you interpret it and how you label it and our attachment to it as well. Cynthia, I'm curious about your organization. Are you funded by insurance? Can seniors sign up for your program? How big is your network? How do people find out about you?
Fantastic. Thank you for asking. Together Senior Health, we actually initially grew through NIH grants. As I say, we came out of the University of California, San Francisco. That has allowed us to do our own clinical studies, which is super exciting to be able to come out in the world with evidence-based strategies that are looking at some of these integrative health programs that don't often get the same attention as the drug studies. That's been really exciting. But typically we are offered through one's insurance program, through a Medicare Advantage plan, or through your provider. If you are part of an ACO or a risk-bearing provider or payer provider group, sometimes we are offered through those. That's our primary way to reach folks, although we do offer some self-pay classes and programs. If somebody is interested, they can look for us online. We're at togetherseniorhealth.com.
Are your services offered in all 50 states?
They are, which is really great. And we've had some folks from international, but we're really focused on the US for the time being.
Wonderful. And are you all a nonprofit?
We're not a nonprofit. We're actually a for-profit startup company. We are not necessarily widely available just yet, but we are offered, as you mentioned, across the US. So we're not state-based. Because we're online, we can access folks anywhere.
That's awesome. We have a whole 200-hour track at YogaFit for senior health and active adults. And I'm going to connect with you after the show about that because I think that there's some synergy there. We've had this program for over 22 years, and we've trained a lot of people who work with seniors, obviously, but then we have some really beautiful people in our network who are in their late 80s and still practicing yoga and standing on their heads and coming to our conferences. It's so beautiful to see when people either bring their parents to a YogaFit conference or an older person brings their child or their grandchild. Yeah, we will definitely connect on that. Stan, tell us a little bit more about where we can find your book and where we can find you.
You can find me in my house.
Okay.
And
give us your address, Sam. We're all going to come over right now.
We'll stop by.
Yeah.
It's somewhere in Puerto Rico.
Okay. Oh, nice. Puerto Rico.
No, that's fictitious.
Okay.
Wishful thinking.
Preventing Senior Moments can be found on Amazon and on any online booksellers, any brick and mortar place. Essentially, it's a book that I think can be important in preventing those types of things that nobody wants to admit they have. I also have a website that contains more than 200 articles on various illnesses and issues, and that's Stan Goldberg Writer. I'm also currently a contributor to Psychology Today online. So
Wonderful.
will be obtained there.
Great. Well, thank you both so much. And before we close this show, I'm going to ask you to each list 3 things based upon your years of experience that people can do starting today to take better care of their cognitive health. Cynthia?
Wow, 3 things they can do to care for.
Or maybe things they should avoid. I don't know, excess alcohol, caffeine, just whatever. I think out of the box and give our listeners some tips.
Yeah, stay active and engaged with the world as best you can. That's both physically and mentally. Pay attention to your physical health and your mental health. Stay engaged with other people. Look for opportunities for social connection. We often overlook social connection as an element of our brain health, but it really does. It is a human element, and it stimulates our brains in new and different ways. And there's something really important about human connection. It doesn't need to be overwhelming, but there's something important about staying in touch with other people. And the third thing would be start small. It seems overwhelming, and there's a long list of tasks that we talked about here today, right? There's so many things that you should do, but just start small. Pick one thing, try one new thing, give yourself a chance to get used to it, then try another new thing. So start small.
Great. Thank you very much, Cynthia. Stan?
Yeah, I think the first thing is to stop thinking that senior moments are funny. Maybe 10% of them are, but 90% of your senior moments can provide you with incredibly important information on how you're processing information that you're encountering. The second thing is to challenge your brain, whether you have senior moments or not. We talked about the importance of doing something that's creative and cognitive. And there's just so much research that shows how beneficial that is. And the third is, as you're learning any kind of new movement, behavior, emotion, form of interaction, understand that it needs to be laid down as a memory and it needs repetition. So.
Great. Thank you both so much for that. We'd like to thank our guests. And if you found this show helpful, insightful, please share it with someone who could use some good information on senior health and cognitive function. We'd like to thank the sponsors of today's show. We wouldn't be here without them. And also, we would like to thank our sponsor, Blush Wellness. And Blush is a sexual health brand committed to the pursuit of pleasure with innovative education and inclusivity. They make amazing products that celebrate intimacy with thoughtful designs that celebrate all different bodies. Their wellness collection has a lot of products that you can actually use for yoga and meditation, like Kegel balls. And they make their products with safe materials, luxurious functions. You can strengthen your pelvic floor too, which is a senior thing. So check out their Kegel training kit. Go to blush.com. Thanks again to Blush Wellness. We'd like to thank our sponsor, YogaFit Training Systems Worldwide, the leader in yoga, mind, body, fitness education for over 26 years, hosting conferences, in-person events, teacher trainings, senior groups that we run online too for yoga. We've got a platform that you can subscribe to take any class you want. We do weight management classes, corporate wellness. Check out yogafit.com. Thank you all so much for listening. Thank you for sharing this show. Let's keep America healthy. It's big work. It's a lot of work, but it's worth it because your health is your most valuable asset always, physically and mentally. I'm Beth Shaw. I'm your host. You can find my books on Amazon. You can also visit me on Instagram at Beth Shaw Health or go to my website, bethshaw.com, and chat with me there. So thank you so much, everyone. Until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, Stay happy, stay engaged, keep your brain healthy, stand on your head if you need to. Namaste. Thank you.
Thanks to our main sponsor, Previmedica and Cell Sciences. They make amazing tests for food sensitivity, methylation, food allergies, nutritional counseling, and so much more. I have personally done their tests, and I will tell you it's a game changer. Even foods that were healthy, I was allergic to. Things like arugula and avocado. Who knew? My gut function has really improved since I took the Previmedica tests. So you can save 10% at checkout by going to previmedica.com and use the code YogaFit. Also, they have nutritional consultants on staff, and you can call 855-773-8463 extension 111, or just email hello@previmedica.com. Take care of your health on a deeper level. Get tested. We'd like to thank our main sponsor, YogaFit Training Systems Worldwide. You can visit yogafit.com to take courses on how to improve your health physically and mentally. We offer yoga courses, mind-body courses, corporate wellness, yoga for healthcare providers, yoga for trauma, depression, anxiety, PTSD, yoga as therapy, so much more. Over 250 different programs to choose from. You can save 15% at checkout by using the code MAH24 and visit yogafit.com. There's also a big conference coming up in Palm Springs in January, and you won't want to miss the opportunity to take better control of your health physically and mentally through the practice of yoga, mind-body, mindfulness, and other techniques.
Thanks for joining us on Make America Healthy. We hope we've given you some tools you need to take back control of your health. Until next time, we wish you a healthy and wonderful week.
We'd like to thank our main sponsor, YogaFit Training Systems Worldwide. You can visit yogafit.com to take courses on how to improve your health physically and mentally. We offer yoga courses, mind-body courses, corporate wellness, yoga for healthcare providers, yoga for trauma, depression, anxiety, PTSD, yoga as therapy, so much more. Over 250 different programs to choose from. You can save 15% at checkout by using the code MAH24 and visit yogafit.com. There's also a big conference coming up in Palm Springs in January, and you won't want to miss the opportunity to take better control of your health physically and mentally through the practice of yoga, mind-body, mindfulness, and other techniques.
Thanks for joining us on Make America Healthy. We hope we've given you some tools you need to take back control of your health. Until next time, we wish you a healthy and wonderful week.